Hello and welcome to our Top Flight Unfiltered podcast. I'm Richard Morell, and joining me on the sofas today we've got none other than Mr. Race Director himself, Chris Parr.
Hello.
And the darling of RunThrough herself, Stacey Smith.
Oh, hello.
So we'll kick things off with the old running journey chat. I feel like you've got some big updates for us.
Yeah, so I ran at the Northern 12 stage, which I'd said on the last one, and then I've been doing all the training at like, let's say 80%. So I've been sandbagging and I've been doing all the reps at like 5 minute, 5:20 miling and keeping everything controlled. Sort of took the reins off to run a club relay at Elsick Good Friday Road Relays last week. Ran about 4:36 pace, I think, for 2 and a bit miles, and then pulled my calf the next day. So I've stuttered. It's not too bad. But yeah, I'll be in for some physio and hopefully back. But I think it's just old age.
Yeah, have to get the physio to glue you back together.
Oh,
Yeah.
good for you. You made your comeback.
You've got to keep
As
stopping
quick as
and
he
then keep
came,
coming
he was
back.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
What about you?
Yeah, going all right. Starting to build up the mileage a lot. Getting there, doing threshold, 10K work, touching on a little bit of 5K stuff, starting to bring the speed back in. So I'm starting to be a little bit more specific. I was away in a training camp in Girona last week.
God, this sounds so professional, doesn't it?
No, it
Away
was-
on a training camp.
No, but I went with, so my partner, he does triathlon and he's now on a team that are based out in Girona. And a lot of the guys that are on the team are actually like full-time athletes. That's what they do as their job.
Right.
But basically their team, it's like an international team and everybody flew in for a training camp. They have 2 training camps a year, one in April, one in October. So I might be back out there later on in the year. So I went with him. And I was joining them on the bikes in the pool, which I'm horrendous. And in the pool, you've literally got like Cassandra Beaugrand, who was in the lane next year. And
she's
it's
class,
mad.
yeah.
We flew in on the Sunday. We went out for a shakeout run on the Sunday evening. Literally, who did we bump into? Cassandra Beaugrand with a lad out on a run. And I'm like, fangirling over her. Literally, everyone there was a professional athlete. People on like, what's that? What do you call that professional cyclist who is unreal? Pogacar.
Pogacar.
Pogacar's teammate was like out there training, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm around these people. So I was fangirling majorly while I was over there. So training's going good. Getting there, I'm looking forward to getting part of a group again with the LD crew. And
Aren't we all?
Yeah. Getting back into a group.
Pointing to what you were saying is something we'll discuss later on in the podcast, though. I'm interested, though, you were out there and there was a bunch, it was a big triathlete vibe there. Did you pick up anything that you thought, this would be useful on the running scene? And as people watch the podcast, they'll get where we're getting at with this, with someone we're going to discuss later on in there and their running performance coming up. But was there any sort of like training methods that you thought, I wonder whether that would relay quite well into my training for running, for instance?
Definitely. So the trails out there in Girona are unreal. I think that's what Girona is famous for, their trails. So many routes, miles and miles and miles of trails. So trails, biking on the trails is really popular. So a lot of the triathletes, they are not just doing their road cycling, training out on the roads. They're doing a lot of the cycling on the trails, and that is to reduce the impact that the roads, because the roads can be quite intense when you're out on the bike and when you're running. So to reduce the impact on the joints when you're running, so many options of trails that's out there. They do have 2 tracks, so it's pretty good facilities. One of the tracks is a bit torn up, so I would avoid that one. But I mean, a lot of the Olympians that are out there, they're training on this beat up track out there, but there's a better one. The pools facilities are really, really good. I would say the biggest takeaway is maybe the trails and just focusing a little bit on that softer surface, which is, you're not necessarily running on sand, but it's a nice gravelly surface where it is reducing the load a bit. So I thoroughly enjoyed getting out into the trails, and me and Graham had a conversation. We're like, where can we find these sorts of trails in the northeast? And there's not very many locations you can get to that has the trails like that, like they do in Girona.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely country. Is that where the Run Through Trails event
Yeah.
is?
Yeah. So we're working in partnership with a running company, a running store, Overland. So I went into there and joined them out for a run club. And
Nice.
they literally went up a bloody mountain, and my Achilles was not happy at all. So I ran back down and went, guys, I'm going to see you at the bottom. And I went down to the park and just ran on the flat, which was far more enjoyable for me and my legs.
Better send you though than Parsi, because he would have been injured after a dodgy calf. Like.
Actually, you know what? In Europe, I don't know if this was just me, but in Europe, the brakes are the other way around on your bike as standard. So, you know, like you pull the brakes and
both of them.
your left one's your back wheel and your front,
Oh,
and your right one's
yeah.
the front.
Yeah.
So it's the other way around in Europe, and I didn't know that, and I'd gone on a mountain bike in Switzerland. So I'd gone up this Alp and then turned around and come back down. So I hadn't used the brakes once, but I came down a really steep bit, and I thought, don't pull my front. Obviously, logic is don't pull your front brake because you'll go over the front. So I just slammed on what I assumed was the back brake. Obviously, went straight over the front. Probably skinned me back, everything.
I absolutely loved cycling out there, though. I'm definitely good. I do a lot of cycling anyway, mainly on the watt bike indoors, but I'm going to get out on my bike more. It's just because of the weather. I think I've been avoiding it, but I'm going to get out
sketchy
more.
on the roads, mate. I don't like it.
Don't feel safe.
Don't like it. Remember, like me and you've been out a couple of times, haven't we? And round on the country roads, they're fine and all that, but like I'm just like right on the outskirts of Newcastle city centre, and it's like there's busy roads and the commuter roads, and
I know
you get some radges on
but
the road.
we live out in the countryside, so we're right on some beautiful
so that's
roads.
class. And we'd cycled through Newcastle to get to these back roads before, and that's fantastic. But if I was just going out myself, I'd need to go along these commuter roads, and I'm sketchy.
That's a nightmare.
Lot of stop-start.
Yeah.
So anyway, enough about us and our running, cycling and falling off bikes journey. Right, what we're going to talk about, Grand Slam review. Go on.
Jamaica.
I know you two have been chewing on in our WhatsApp group about this.
I was, and we all talked about it beforehand. We really want to see Grand Slam do well, but those crowds, oh my God, that was so disappointing.
Did they have to change the venue a few days before though?
It wasn't change the venue. They did release afterwards some videos where there'd been like a really bad storm the day before and stuff had flipped over, and they've got the next one coming up in Miami, so it's going to be great. I've actually cancelled my Sky Sports and I've switched to TNT, so I get the cycling and the athletics now for the summer. I've not got my phone because I'm texting. I've got my phone because I made notes while I was watching Grand Slam track.
I told you, look, for any viewers that are watching this now, all I've heard out of Chris from the past week, and Stacey a little bit as well, his vibes about the Grand Slam review.
Oh, no,
I can do this better. That was really good.
I don't want to be a negative Nancy. I really don't, because I really want to see Grand Slam do well, and I really want to, athletes to get more opportunities and win more money and get more of a spotlight, because that's what we need in the sport. And I really want this to be successful. We're really not trying to be negative Nancy's at all. But
no, it was more like, obviously we're trying to do stuff innovative, and we're trying to do stuff on the track as well. So I was making notes in terms of like, well, what have they done well, and what can we do, and like what would be good. If I'm sure they'll do a big debrief afterwards and look at some of the ideas. So a few things that I thought were class were, obviously they did loads of social media profile, and the media, all of the noise around it was amazing.
Yeah.
Some things on the day at the event that I was like, you know what, that's meant. All the athletes were wearing different kit. So it wasn't like the Diamond League where they zoom out and 20 athletes all wearing the same vest and you don't know who's who.
Yeah.
They had a drone angle. So the drone came alongside the athletes, and it reminded me of our live stream bikes. You actually got a much better perception of how fast these runners are going compared to a static camera just moving. So we're going to do that in our track meeting, not a drone, but we're going to get, Jason's going to go on the bike and go along, try to get the action closer. Because I think that's what, with athletics, it's like you need a bit of a wow factor. If you see it and you've got no reference point, you don't realise how good these performances are. Like I've seen the pole vault before in Baltic Square, where they put a double-decker bus next to it, and you could see that these guys are jumping higher than that, and it increases the wow factor. So anything where you've got much better angles or drones or things like that, that was amazing.
Some of the reels, the aerial shot of the 100 meters.
Yeah.
That looked class. I've never seen a shot like that. That looked really good. And you can appreciate the race from a different angle, not that typical side-on view. You can watch them pulling away from every view. I thought that was good. So, yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and I thought, obviously, just in terms of media, it was a lot of noise. I think it'll shake up. So Diamond League and whoever, they'll react to this. So I think, it could be a catalyst for change. So I thought that was amazing. And and you already mentioned, so I'll go through the meh list, which, again, you don't want to be negative or criticism, but it's just, you know what, these things I would have done different. I wasn't struck on the format beforehand, and I think it came true as well. So I think they could have had the fans right next to the track. So we've mentioned this before, like the old school, like Oslo and Koblenz, and even like Highgate, when they've got the fans right on the track, was great. This setting, you had the track, there was then a cycling velodrome, and then the crowd after. So irrespective of the crowd not being there, they were a long way from the action.
Yeah.
Get them right on track size.
I'm with you on that.
I think,
you with them on that?
Yeah, agree.
I think multiple nights doesn't work. It needs to be in one night and
nights.
shorter.
I'm with you on that as well. I don't like it strung out too much, definitely. One night is good.
There was big gaps in between the action, so perhaps you could argue that could have been filled with field events, but I just think it needs to be more action-packed, so don't have these big gaps in between. And I'll come to some ideas or suggestions for what I think could have filled in there, but I don't think it worked to make the athletes race multiple times. You should have just had them racing once, because the novelty, let's say the 3K, 5K runners, once they're going to go, you know what, I can't do 8 races in a month at a high level, so I'm going to sit and kick everyone. So I think you'll see the same pattern every time, because they haven't got paces, they haven't got the wave, like they've said that they're not going to do that. So it's great to have that championship style racing, but you can't make these athletes race like multiple times. It doesn't work. So just, I'll suggest what you could have done.
I disagree with you.
Well, go on then.
I'm sorry. I like to see a little bit of something different in the sport, and I think it's a really good test of fitness and tactics of racing over maybe distances that they wouldn't necessarily focus on. I like the change. I do like the change.
So I'll tell you what I was going to suggest then, and then you can tell me whether you think that actually fits. So what I think didn't work, just to clarify, was if these guys had to run a 5K and then 2 days later run a 3K, the effort of that meant that both them races were going to be a jog and a sprint finish. And if there's 4 Grand Slams they've signed up for, that they're doing that 8 times in 5 or 6 weeks. I think that's too much. What I would have rather that they did is choose one event at each one. So for the long distance guys, let's do like a 5K, a 2K, a 3K, and a 5K. So 1 meeting at each one. So it's a different meeting, different distance. One of them do with wave light at the Olympic qualifying time. One of them go for world record pace. 2 of them leave totally, like the last one, the ultimate one, don't have any pacemakers in and just let them race it out. So you would be artificially constructing those different types of races, getting them to run the different distances, but you would get a higher quality output at each of those events. The thing for the middle distance as well, you could have done 815 mile and a K, 2 paced, 2 unpaced, but just 1 meeting at each thing.
I guess the only thing with that though for me is that like I like to see racing. I do like to see like pure racing. So I don't care if it's slow on a kick. Like I like to watch that unfold because I see so much paced stuff in the Diamond Leagues. And I think with like the money element, if I was an athlete signed up to that and they were like, right, this race is going off at world record pace, and I'm thinking, yeah, but I know I can sit and kick and win this, I'm not going to put it out there and go at the front and follow that. And then I'd imagine the majority of others, unless you had natural front runners in them races, would also be thinking, well, I'm going to just tag in the pack because I fancy myself winning this way or that way. So, I mean, I get what you're saying. I appreciate what you're saying, but I think I like the idea of just pure racing. I don't think we see enough of it.
I think that's what we want. We just want exciting racing, something. We've got to remember, sport is the entertainment industry. We can't take it too seriously. We want to be entertained. And that's what we want to see. We don't want to see boring races. So, yeah, that's
But people like different things, don't they? That's that's the upshot of it.
But I do think 30 minutes of coverage in a 3-hour broadcast is poor.
Yeah. So another idea I thought I would have rather seen everything in one night and stick to they had this good idea of the sort of the guys who they've signed up, who were the racers, and then you had the challengers. I would have preferred, let's take the 100 meters so that we're not just talking about distance running all the time. But let's say the 100 meters, they had an A race, B race, C race. And the A race was your 4 racers and 4 challengers or whatever it was. But the B race and the C race were just challengers, and they would then usurp. So the next races, the challengers get into the A race if they've just won the fastest 4 from the B and C race. It also would mean there's more of a familiarity with the crowd. If, let's say, one of your racers gets injured or 2 of them get injured, at least they've been introduced to these other guys who are going to come in and replace them. So, yeah, I just think more athletes, and then you would have more races to show. You would have more names to share. I think maybe they've tried to keep it narrower so that there's not too many names to overwhelm the audience because it's such a different format.
But then there's loads of athletes that dropped out, isn't there?
Yeah, and they filled them in. But yeah, I just think they could have had. Yeah, there's like maybe if they did ABC race, then there's a bit more because there was just too many gaps in the program.
There was. It was. You know what fills in the gaps? Field events.
Yeah, it does. So again, it's did they do that, or does it work when they condense it? They probably could have had like the pole vault or something like that on. Maybe you can't have everything, but it was a massive stadium and it just looks a lot
empty.
Too empty.
Empty. It was, the crowd was so poor. For me, Diamond League is winning.
Yeah, they could
1-0.
Yeah, I think we also would like to see the stuff on the track. So the interviews on the track, the pit walk type of thing. They'll probably steal some of them ideas of us. Great. There's only one thing where I'll leave it after this one. One thing that I actually hated.
Oh, I'm with you on this though.
Right, you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Short distance. Get that out. That off.
Yeah.
It's middle distance. Why are you trying to rebrand middle distance?
Yeah.
It's middle distance and long distance. Keep it at that. None of this short distance racing nonsense.
It's horrendous.
Everything else, keep going, but that get rid of.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
Well, I think we've done a thorough review.
Yeah.
But I'm also looking forward to Miami. So the next one, Miami.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Let's hope there's some
action.
improvements.
Yeah.
Let's hope that they've learned from Jamaica and that Miami is 1,000 times better. But we shall see.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be tuning in. It was good.
Well.
It was innovative, and I'll be watching that on the Diamond League.
Yeah. On the note of watching athletics, big weekend coming up, London Marathon weekend.
Yes.
Something we've all tapped into a little bit, Alex Yee's journey. For those who are watching the pod that might not be familiar with Alex Yee, he is the current and reigning Olympic champion over triathlon.
Incredible athlete.
Yeah, incredible athlete, excellent running pedigree. Those that have been around in the sport a while will know he's competed internationally. Over 10,000 meters. Was it the Worlds he went to?
I can't remember offhand, but he certainly
I think it
ran
was the
very
Worlds,
well
but yeah, he's a phenomenal athlete. Anyway, so he's tackling the marathon. Obviously, post Olympics, they've made a big thing about it that they're going to try something different. They're going to target the marathon. They're going to see how he goes for it. I've watched his YouTube documentary. Thought it was fantastic. Thought it was shot really well. Thought he came across really good, really likable character.
Really nice.
His coaching setup looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
New Balance are obviously plowing a lot of time and effort into getting him into this marathon and getting him in marathon shape and supporting him to perform well. Obviously, we've got lots of other Brits in the field.
I think a big push of it, sorry to interrupt you, Rich, but I think a big push has come from Alex Yee, that he has wanted to do this. He has such a strong running pedigree that he's wanted to focus, and he said that between now and LA, he wants to try new things. Let's try London Marathon and try training for a marathon and doing it and seeing if it has a huge impact on his overall aerobic capacity so that he can push on to the next level in his chosen sport, which is triathlon.
Yeah, so triathlon continues to get better and stronger. So it's still a much more youthful sport than athletics. So the standard in triathlon just keeps going up and up and up, doesn't it? The interesting thing about the training, his coach, Adam Elliott, who used to go to Loughborough when I was there, the interesting thing they were saying about they do a lot of volume for triathlon, aerobic, but not necessarily a lot of
intensity,
like faster or more intense work. So he said that this is probably just on the limit of the shortest possible time you'd want to prepare for a marathon and up the mileage. So you still won't be doing mega mileage, and he's still doing the cycling, he's still doing the swimming. I guess that there's always been a bit of a debate about how good would Alex Yee or other top triathlete runners, how good would they be if they just focused on their running? Because they're obviously great runners, but it's if you change your training around and just do the running, you wouldn't be getting that same aerobic. You're putting more strain. So to get them little, the smaller percentage increases in your running, take a higher risk. So you could then get more injuries. So you then drop your aerobic capacity. So it looks like they've done an amazing job, and he's obviously got a massive, massive engine. So he doesn't really need to work on his aerobic side of things. He's excellent at 10K. So compared to any of our other marathon runners, he's right up there at 10K. It's just, has he been able to change? So you would usually only race up to 10K in a triathlon. So it's, can he do the work at the specific pace for a marathon without breaking down? And it's just a different strain on your body. It's going to be great to see how that unfolds.
But he has been so transparent with the training that he's been doing. He has been putting it up on his new YouTube channel, but he also shares a lot of his Coros data as well across socials, doesn't he? Some of those sessions that he's doing just blows my mind what he can do. But I think Hugo Milner's actually pacing him in the mirror.
Yeah, and Hugo looked great in those videos as well. Another triathlete who's a great runner.
I tell you what, a big advantage he's got, which will fly under the radar a little bit. The marathon is obviously a massive physical battle, but also mentally, it's 2 hours of racing. Now, if you think all of his races, triathlon, they're long events.
Yeah.
And I think having that mental advantage that he's got, he seems to strike me as a really sort of grounded and quite mentally strong athlete just from the snippets that we've seen on YouTube of him. I think that's going to be a massive advantage to him when he's got to really go into the well. I think he's going to be able to do that. And you notice they pick up this theme that sometimes maybe his training doesn't translate to his racing performance. He can always up it. He always performs when he needs to perform. So I'm really intrigued to see how quick he does go.
I mean, in terms of mental strength, look at the Olympics. Look at the position that he was in. It took one trigger from Ali Brownlee. Anything, what did he say? Anything can happen, and it switched something in his brain, and he went for the kick. And honestly, the broadcasters need to be sacked for the fact that they missed Alex Yee's kick, and that we didn't see anything until the very, what was it, Hayden Wild that was out in front?
Yeah.
I'm gutted that we didn't have the coverage on that. So just mentally, he's so strong. He has it, and he can deal with it. He does these races out. He's out there for hours on end on the bike for 5 hours and that.
I think as well, sometimes a debut marathon, it can work. It can work both ways, as you'd probably imagine. But going into that unknown can sometimes be a massive advantage as well, because you've never been there before. You're running sort of unshackled because you've never gone through this marathon experience before, and you hear that from athletes that debut and run a quick time and never really get back to it again because they've just ran unshackled and thought, well, thrown caution to the wind and gone with it.
Yeah, I think the only main risk here is that he hasn't done a few half marathons. He hasn't done, so although he's used to the time, like you've said, there is a different strain on your body running.
There is, yeah. It's almost so time on feet type vibe, because you know how your body responds. Yes, aerobically, I have no concerns that aerobically he can complete a marathon, a quick marathon. It's whether how the body responds. How is the body going to respond at mile 20, 21, 22? Exactly. You know, you still got a hell of a long way to go, and it can all go away from there. I think he'll run well. I think he'll probably, I mean, you don't really want to predict, but I think he'd be around with some of the other Brits, like Johnny Mellor, for instance. I think, he seems to be going well.
I think if he sets his stall out for 2:10, he'll run faster than 2:10. But if he goes for quite a lot faster than that, which he may do because he might feel totally confident, it can go one way or the other, as we know with the marathon.
They said something about one of his sessions was a 30-kilometer time, not a time trial, but it was a 30-kilometer session that he'd done. They were targeting race pace, which was I worked it out from what they were saying off his splits, and it was around about the 2:10 mark. So you'd imagine that's what they've probably got.
Yeah.
in mind
Could have
for
been
it.
sandbagging. No, it's going to be great to watch.
I think
Yeah.
it is.
I think if Bekele's dropped out, but it'll be interesting to see if Kipchoge can pull another one out. Obviously, he's gone on for a while now, but I guess the interesting one on the men's side is Kip Limo after running that 56-minute half marathon. Can he translate that to the marathon? He's got world cross-country pedigree. He's been amazing on the track. He's now obviously phenomenal in the world record holder at half marathon, which the improvement in that, everybody wasn't like, there's a lot of bad press actually about how big that improvement is, shall we say.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of negative press around that, as well as the world record with any of these things. But can he translate that to the marathon? It's going to be interesting, because if he does, this could be the first legit sub 2 hour marathon.
Yeah.
Which will be interesting. It's just going to be great to see it unfold.
You think that this is going to be sub 2?
Well, if somebody's run 56.5 minutes for half marathon, then they've certainly got the potential. So he's 2 minutes.
I don't think it will go. I don't think it'll go that quick.
It all depends on I haven't seen the weather forecast.
Weather forecast's decent.
Is it?
Yeah, maybe slightly warm, but not too bad. I think you don't want to sound disrespectful when you say something like this, but I think Kipchoge's done. I think his best days are gone. I've seen he's entered Sydney Marathon as well.
He wants to get his majors medal, doesn't he?
Yeah, so I think he's just picking up paydays, which I would absolutely be doing as well if I was Kipchoge. You're going to pull on your name, few grand in the bank. So I think Kipchoge's spent force when it comes to the Mara.
I think he has been on record to say he doesn't really intend to retire. He just wants to inspire people.
And dollar.
Is that not what you're doing? You're never going to retire, only going to inspire.
Exactly. Our shout out to Ben Green, so co-founder of RunThrough.
Yes,
is running the marathon. So we'll not pin any times on him, but he's been training well as well. So good luck to Ben.
On the women's side, who we got? Because we had some dropouts as well.
Well, but Eilish is running, so let's.
Colgan is running,
It's her debut.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think she's going to try and go after her mum's record, isn't she?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
I'm excited for her.
She'll be going for 220, sub 220, I think.
I mean, Eilish is
a phenomenal athlete. I think that's got to be.
She sets a stall out every time. She's not going to.
Some other good Brits in there, though. Charlotte Purdue.
Yeah, Charlotte, very consistent, always up there. Philly Bowden continued to make improvements. So, it's going to be interesting to watch that one.
And I have been loving the YouTube coverage, the Alex T. I haven't watched Philly's, haven't watched that for a while. I did watch a few of hers last year, but I'll have to see how her build-up is going. But I quite like that athletes now are eventually catching on to the fact that maybe YouTube is a good route to try and increase engagement and followers in the audience. So I know Ingebrigtsen, he's back on YouTube after he did a bit of a pause. I saw something from the M11 crew saying, should we do a YouTube channel? So I think they've put a little taster out there. I would expect something from them. I love all the behind the scenes and actually seeing what they get up to.
Yeah, it's good. Running's always been a bit of like, keep your cards close to your chest and let you run and do the talk and type of thing. But it's good to get this up. There's a Ingebrigtsen documentary on Amazon Prime, and I've started it. I've just never actually got around to watching it.
That's good.
So I'll get that on at some point.
I really like him. I think he's so funny.
He's great.
I think he's got great crack.
Yeah, you like Josh Kerr as well, don't you?
Not sure. I think out of the two, if you're going to go and have a pint, you'd probably rather go with Ingebrigtsen.
Well, he's done the Chunder Mile, hasn't he? So
who has?
I'd definitely go out with him for one.
Who's done the Chunder Mile?
Ingebrigtsen. Didn't he do it on his stag do last year?
Are you winding me up?
No.
Because you come out with these things like the whole ballroom dancing thing.
That is
You're winding me up.
No,
you'll have to look at he did it on his stag do.
Did he?
Yeah.
Where do you have a stag?
What?
Oh, I don't know. You'll have to Google it. Google it. Have a look after this.
He did the Chunder Mile for his stag do.
Yeah, on his stag do night out.
Well, what was his time?
Oh, well, not as fast as me, but I mean,
obviously.
I love to know where you went for a stag.
Wonder who went faster, Shelley Houlihan or Ingebrigtsen.
Yeah. Definitely. No, he did do a good one. We'll have to look it up and post it in the
I'll
comments.
DM him. He'll get back to us pretty quick.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right, anything else? Any other news? Anything you want to whip in before we conclude this unfiltered episode?
Well, obviously, there was a Strava announcement of their acquisition of a runner, which I think is quite a big one. I use Strava. Do you guys use Strava?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really run enough to upload anything of worth to Strava. No one wants to see me running.
You're not going after any segments?
You know what? I went segment hunting once.
Okay, have you got any?
I've got one or two, but there was one I went after because I know I'm totally divulging off subject here, but there's some geezer that lived down near me, right? And he'd just been out. It was just segment hunting, right? And
sprinting down the street.
Exactly, yeah, right. Because I looked at it on Strava and I thought, you're not even that good. In fact, yeah, you're not. You're crap, right? But you've gone out and you've just blitzed segments here. So I thought, okay, I'm going out after it. Right.
I'll have to bleep that one out.
Yeah, sorry.
Actually, leave that in.
Yeah, no, leave it in. It's unfiltered, man. So I thought, sack it. I'm going out. So I went out segment hunting and I got a few of them. There was one of them, I think he must have done it on a bike because I was blitzing. It was 300. Yeah, it was 300 meters, right? And I was romping along. I was still shifting. I couldn't get it. I had 2 goals and I thought I'm going to have to come back in a couple of weeks and I never went back. Didn't dare show me face on Kells Lane again.
There are people that cheat for sure. But I signed up for a subscription to Strava because I do actually really like the changes that we've been making recently. And they're doing well with all the analytics and all the data, and they now got AI involved and they're doing all of that. So, and I kind of ignore that because I think for me and what I need out of it, I don't need that sort of stuff. But I think it is, do you use Strava?
My watch is Garmin, so I get my reps off Garmin, and then I switch to Strava to track my mileage because it's a bit more user friendly.
Yeah, that's what I use it for.
But my training's set on Training Peaks because Nathan uses that to set everybody's training. So I just go between the 3, but really,
keep it simple.
Yeah, I actually use my Google Calendar just to plan when my runs are going to be. So I just use that instead.
Use a pen and piece of paper because you know what? It's simple.
So we came from the old school. If you just wrote it in your training diary.
Yeah.
And you
That's what we used to, like,
Casio or the oven.
I still do that a lot. I still write everything down anyway. I might just go back to Microsoft Excel.
Nice.
I went for so long where I just looked at the clock on the oven and then just went out for a run and came back and was like, oh, that was 32 minutes.
I mean, it does the job.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so yeah, there has been the acquisition of Strava and Runner. I guess I don't know how much of a big sway this will do. Obviously, Strava's got to a certain point. They've had a massive growth during lockdown and COVID. Everybody was on Strava, and they've gotten a huge increase in revenue via the subscriptions. But obviously, in the long-term future, they've gone, right, where can we get our growth? And obviously, something like a coaching platform is a wise decision to make, to go down there, right? Okay, how can we widen our audience? How can we increase our revenue even more? And Runner is definitely a wise choice. But I don't know, I worked for a company called Fitbit. I don't know if you've ever heard about it. It was a fitness wearables, and they were acquired by Google when I was working with them. And it was going to be like the biggest thing in the world. And Google's bought us out. We're going to take over. And nothing really happened. There was talks of a lot of integration with third-party apps and then going down different types of health insurance routes and stuff, but nothing really came of it. So it'll be interesting to see what the developments between the two parties. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it sounds on paper like the right thing to do, and it does, theoretically, it should work, but only time will tell.
But congratulations to the Runner team.
Yeah, absolutely. Done really good stuff there. So.
Big paycheck for them.
Yeah,
like to see them do well.
Yeah, I'm personally not convinced on these like coaching apps and stuff. They're great for beginners, but I think no, wait a minute. I'll rephrase that. They're very good for people who are new into the sport or people who need some sort of guidance and some structure. But I'm going to balance that with, I think, an actual human who knows what they're doing, who's got a coaching qualification and an experience, will always totally trump that, and having that like personal experience.
100%.
Obviously, we've came from the background of having a dedicated coach who's devoted themselves to that, like to making like a bespoke plan and bearing a lot of things in mind, like people's lifestyles and stuff. Nothing's going to actually replace that. It doesn't matter how good the AI is, because it's actually a human at the end of the day. So I would personally still encourage people to like go to the local club or like get a human coach who's actually got experience and can
I
completely
think
agree.
there's benefits on both sides as well, and I can see
it's
why.
Definitely a great entry level.
Yeah, and I can see why people would dive on that. And there's the flexibility of maybe you don't want to run in a group, maybe you can't make it down because of the way your work and patterns are and things like that to get with a coach. So it's got that appeal as well. But yeah, I think it's an interesting one, and we will certainly be watching that space. I feel like we've covered a lot here.
Yeah.
Should we
There's
wrap
always
it up?
something happening. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Stacey, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chris, thank you.
And thank you, Rich.
That's a wrap.